This is going to be the tutorial for the gradient mesh of the bottle. This is the finished product, which many of you have already seen, and I'm just going to turn off all the work and relay out the mesh as I did in the original presentation. By turning off everything, you can see in the layers in here, I have all my layers on, and as I turn them off, the top of the cap, and I'll turn off the bottle so you can actually see top of the cap, the bubbles, the highlights with opacity mask, the label details, the label, the highlights in the bottom or the bottle, the bottom texture, the bottom bevel, and the bottle itself. So right now the bottle has its mesh done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over with this and lay out the colors to what you see here. But I'm going to be utilizing obviously the original bottle. The way we start, and I have my source image down here, is we simply add a layer. And the layer right now you can name, and I named originally bottle, but I'll just say artwork for now. That is going to be put on, click on the eyeball, and on a Macintosh, you're going to hold Command and Command and just press the I, and that's going to make that layer a wireframe preview. Now I make all my gradient meshes with a square. You can see that it's wireframe. So on here, I'm going to make the gradient mesh with this square of the bottle, right from the bottom left where it starts its tapering in for the curve of the bottle to the top, right where the sheathing of the bottle cap starts. And I want to make sure I'm on both sides, right and left, and it seems like maybe I can just push it over just a little. There we go. Now it's time to start adding at least the mesh and the distortions that I'm going to use. Now in this case, I can add two ways. I can start adding gradient mesh and then distort these pieces into place. As long as I keep this bottom as is and don't try to round it off now, all of these mesh lines will come down nice and evenly and they won't flare out at the bottom. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to undo this just to show you another trick, is you can start this off because of the shape. You can start this off with a make with warp. I would choose an arch or an arc on vertical at 0, 0, 0. That gives you this shape. Now because the bottom is locked, I can use my direct selection. Select the top two nodes, get my scaling tool, and just scale it in. You can see it has a nice little bend, they're even, and I just need to direct select these two nodes and pull them down until the bottle contour is matched. You would probably have to do a little more work than that. This just happens to work pretty well. So now that I have that, I can go and get my mesh tool, and I'm going to click right in the center to get a vertical center line. I'm also going to add two more on each side, but for now, or many more on each side, to capture all of these little highlights and the shapes of them, how they go straight down. But for now, because I have to reposition down here, I'm just going to add one here and one here, and they're about even to each other. You can add more. But remember, the more nodes you add, the more colorizing you have to do, and that takes a lot of time. So for now, this is pretty good. Maybe I'll add one more here and one more here. And you can see that it has a nice even taper and then goes straight down. And that's going to give us a nice uniform bottom. So let's zoom into the bottom for a moment and move the layers out of the way. And now it's as simple as moving these into the contour of the bottle. So I'm going to start off by drag selecting all of them and pulling down to where the first one hits. And you can see it hitting over here. Then I'll pull the next group until it hits again, and the next group hits again, and again. You have to now fix these and make them round, or make them actually have a better curve to them. To do that, I'm just going to quickly turn off the bottom, and you can see that right now I have some flat spots. So I'm just going to curve these a little nicer. And when I feel like I have it, and believe it or not, sometimes you have to put in a guide to the original. But this looks pretty good now. But you could easily draw in a guide, or leave this up if you can actually see these lines, and that you can take care of by. Right now it's a little hard to see, but you can just double click and go to a brighter color for the guides. So now I'm going to fix these edges. You see right here. I'm going to pull this one down. Now right now if I just pull it down, I'm kind of gambling. But I'm going to hold shift, which is going to constrain it. It's going to give me a nice curve. So I can see right here, now that it's brighter, I probably need to just fix and tweak those lines. But I'm pretty much done now with the overall main mesh lines. So I'm going to add in some critical ones now right across this piece here, and then add in some horizontal ones. So to start off, we're going to do the critical ones right here, and we'll start right over in this spot. I can see that this is going to be this color right here. It's going to go to this color, so I'm going to click right where that color is, and then click again right where the lighter color is. And I'll do the same here. I'll do the same here, because I want sharp transitions of color in these spots. Not totally sharp, but I want fairly sharp. Now same here. And this is going to be that color, or this color out here, but it has to go to that dark, and then another color right there. So I've got all of my colors, mesh lines into color, and now I just need some horizontals. And I'm not going to add that many of these. I might add one across the top, one just above the label, one at the bottom of the label, and one just under the label. And what's really cool is you can start to see these are curving to match this curve. And that's going to be it for that, because, and I'll turn on my layers just to show you, on my original, I meshed this without the label, because when I put the label on top, I get if I tried to mesh this with the label, you'd get some inconsistencies of color right here. So now it's time to start eyedroppering the color in. We're not going to do all of it for this tutorial because it would take a little too long, but we're going to do a lot of it. So we'll start off right at this center point right here. And what you're going to do is get your direct selection tool, click on that first, then come down and click on your eyedropper. This way, when you come out here and you toggle back and forth holding command, you're toggling between those two. So we'll start with this point right here. Click on it, let go of command, and eyedropper. Hit command, click, eyedropper. Command, click, eyedropper. Command, click, eyedropper. So you're selecting the node, and then you're pulling the color in. I'm going to move this out of the way so we can see, and we'll do that again, because it is a repeated kind of process. So we're going to hold command, get our direct selection, click on the node, let go of command, and then eyedropper the color from underneath. Command, so we're selecting, selecting eyedropper, selecting eyedropper, selecting eyedropper. Now the reason why I jumped away is sometimes when nodes are too close together, they're very hard to select. So by jumping away initially, you don't have to deselect, you can just keep moving along. In this case, they're far enough away, I probably can get a hold of it. And yeah, I'm just about done colorizing this mesh across this part of the bottle. So I'm actually going to back up a little and I'm going to turn off the bottle. And I think I made a mistake, and I'm glad I made this actually, because it's something that I forgot to tell many people, and they all want to know why this happens. You notice nothing colorized, even if I go to color. Nothing colorized. It right now is just the total bottle color. And that's because when you use the envelope distortion warp, you have to release it before you can start adding color. So, with that said, I'm going to go back in now and mesh those, get those colors again. So we started that right here, and I'll do this very quickly. But again, that's something that happens pretty often where somebody asks me if you know, how to do the mesh, and then as I'm explaining it to them, I left out that little feature, which is pretty important. So having it in the tutorial and having it actually happen, I think will take away some frustration from some people who have seen some of the tutorials that leave that out, including mine. So there we go. I think we're just about there. I'm going to come in over here. You don't always have to select directly underneath the node. Sometimes, like in this example, I'm going to have to select from down here. So I'm going to do that and get away from these bubbles, because I'm going to draw the bubbles in separately. Now you can see if I added a lot more nodes and mesh, all that would have happened is I'd have an enormous amount of colorizing to do. The less nodes you can get away with, the better. But you can't always get away with less nodes, because some objects will have a lot of variation in color, and when that happens, you can't get away from it. You're going to have to use a lot of nodes, and you're going to have to go through this repetition a lot. It's unfortunate, but it's part of this program. It's part of, or I should say, this process within the program. So I think I've got everything. We might have to fix up here a little. So let's just zoom out, turn off the bottle, and then turn back on the preview. And you can see that I'm getting a nice, beautiful color range. Even at the top, I think it's pretty good. I think right here, the way it's done, it's very natural. I'm going to leave that. So let's zoom out and just do the next group. Now this next group I'm going to do to colorize straight through the bottle. How am I going to do that? I'm going to select that node, but I'm also going to select all the way down to here, just above this one. And by doing that, now I can select this color, and it will, if I turn on the preview, you'll see, it just brought that color straight down nice and evenly. So let's go through a bunch of these, the ones that'll be easy right now because they're not too close together. Now here, it'll be a little tougher, but let's see if we can do it. No, I missed. So we're going to have to go in and get them a little better. Okay, I'm going to turn on preview again, and you can see I'm getting them. So now let's get these tighter little spots right here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to start from down here so I can make sure I get them. So I'm going to, good, got it. And now we'll do this next one in this spot. And the reason why I'm doing drag select is because I have to select this node up here, but I want to get them all, and I want to just make sure, because they are a good vertical. Right down here, you can see it flaring out, so I'm only going to be able to get away with up to this point. So I got it. Good. And I'll do the same here. Good. It's a little tough sometimes, but okay, I just drag selected this one, and now I'll drag select some of these. See how far down I can probably only get away with to right here. So let's leave it there, and then do the same for the next. Same for the next. And I think I might have got that one. Nope, not yet. And let's get this outside one to that gray. Good. Now, when we turn on preview again, we're going to be able to see how much we missed. You can see I've got the line right here, and the line right here, and the line right here, so I'll turn that off. Okay. So I think it's this one. Yep. And that one's okay. So it's these two. Sometimes they're going to be a little bit of a problem to drag select, but when you finally get it, it's still a lot better than going through and trying to capture every node. Okay, so I've got all of that. This highlight over here is picking up nice, and I just need to finish off the bottom. So down here, I'm going to utilize just clicking them manually. This one here, I'm going to come out and grab some color from over here. These, I'm going to select them and select that node, or actually I want to select this node up here and give them the colors from up here. Again, I'm going to draw this piece separately, so I don't need to try to fuss with it now. And the same thing down here. I'm going to add, in this case, this node will add that color. It's, you know, this is going to be a dark bottom, so I'm just going to grab all the color just right next to those nodes. Almost done. See, too close together, so we'll jump to this one, come back to the one I missed. Too close together, so we'll click on that one, then one over here, then come back to this one, now come back to that one, come back to that one. So I think I might have everything. Could have missed some, but we'll see. I think I pretty much have everything. Now this is behind the label, and I might want to fix that. So I'm just going to check to see how that's hitting where the label is. Okay, I need to fix that. I can't leave it like that. So I'm going to come in, give a quick look at the preview again. Okay, so I'm going to select this node, and I'm just going to maybe put in another mesh line right here. Now this will automatically pick up the colors that were in between, but now I can go a little further with this and give it its so I've just artificially picked some colors just to give it a little better of a transition. And now behind the label, you know, that other piece will be behind the label over here. I could still fix that to match up to the exact top, and that I would do again by just drag selecting over the nodes. So in this case, if I wanted all of these to match right here, plus this one and this one, simply grab them, do that again, if I go to preview, hopefully yeah, see I started adding a little bit of color, so now it's this other one that I have to get rid of or make consistent. So it's that node, and that node, and that node. Sorry for the repetition of speaking that way. There, now I've gotten rid of it. I've got a nice little highlight going on down here. So I can zoom out, and there's the bottle. Now if I want the color to come down a little more over here, that's fine, but remember, I'm going to add a whole bunch of highlights on top and other things on top, so I'm not going to rely on the initial mesh. But from that mesh for this tutorial to the one I spent a lot of time on, you can see there's a little difference in the consistency. You can see some highlights that are missing here that I didn't capture, but at least you get a really good sense of how the mesh is, the color is pulled into the mesh and how it's reshaped. And one last thing I do want to go over is these highlights. This highlight here is made from a single line that has a stroke weight, and it blends to transparent. But you can see that that blend blends out. So if I select that, I just want to give you a little, you'll notice that there is an opacity mask that's blending this blend of this solid line to fade out. And you can see here's how the lines would normally blend before distortion. But if I try, and this is how it is if you put in a lot of paths, so it gets a nice solid look. But it won't blend out. I can't make this blend out and then blend across. So in order to do that, I have to use the opacity mask. As soon as I blend this the way I want, like this, it becomes a solid, bright white down here. So that's why I use the opacity mask. So that's it for this tutorial on the bottle. I hope that was helpful.